Mike Eala is losing a fight he didn't know he'd have to have. He presses his lips together, looks down, looks up again, and loses anyway, right there in the player's box at court 12, in front of cameras that have no idea what they're actually filming. Because the scoreline hasn't even settled yet. His daughter has just walked off a Wimbledon court having beaten Renata Zarazua 6-1, 6-2, a result so complete it looks routine. It isn't. This is the first round of the Wimbledon main draw, June 30, 2026, and with that scoreline, Alex Eala has just become the first Filipino player in history to win a Wimbledon main draw match as a seeded competitor. 10,000 kilometers away, Manila is watching. Cebu is watching. A country of more than 115 million people is watching one 21-year-old on a tennis court in London, and none of them know yet that the bigger story isn't even the one happening on camera. There's a rumor moving through Filipino social media this same week. Something about a penthouse. An ocean view over Manila Bay. A promise made by a 13-year-old girl before she ever set foot in Mallorca. We're getting to that. But first, you need to know what it took to get here, because nothing about this moment was supposed to happen. Rewind 8 years. Rizal Memorial Sports Complex, Manila. A young girl training. A father watching. Neither of them knowing yet what they were building. Mike Eala was a competitive swimmer with his own ambitions once. Ambitions he set down and never picked back up, the day he moved with 13-year-old Alex to Mallorca so she could train at the Rafa Nadal Academy. Not visiting. Not supporting from a distance. Moving his whole life, packing up a career of his own to sit courtside for someone else's. Her mother, Riza, a former SEA Games bronze medalist swimmer in her own right, made a different sacrifice. She didn't get to walk away from her career, she carried it with her. She kept her executive role at Globe Telecom and instead lived out of suitcases for years, splitting her life between Manila, Mallorca, and whatever tournament came next, working conference calls from hotel lobbies and watching junior matches between flights. The Philippine Daily Inquirer would later sum up both parents in 5 words, ever present but not disruptive. 5 words that undersell a decade. No guarantee, at any point along the way, that it would ever pay off. Just a bet on a 13-year-old swing. And it wasn't a blind bet, either. Long before Wimbledon, there were signs the swing was worth backing. Junior triumphs at Roland Garros, a breakthrough run all the way to the semifinals of the Miami Open. Small proofs, scattered across years, that kept a family sacrifice from feeling like a gamble. But proof isn't the same as certainty, and certainty is exactly what disappeared this year. This year, the bet almost didn't look like it was working. By mid-June 2026, Alex Eala had slid to no. 56 in the world, stuck in the kind of slump that makes a career look like it's stalling instead of climbing. The kind of ranking where fans start asking quiet questions in comment sections. Is this it? Is this as far as it goes? Then, on June 15th, a flash of what she was still capable of, a comeback title at the Birmingham Open, rallied from a set down, the sort of win that makes you believe the slump was temporary. Momentum. Finally. 8 days later, it was gone. A first-round exit at the Bad Homburg Open, a loss some tennis analysts pointed to directly when they called her coaching changes ahead of Wimbledon a real gamble, maybe even a mistake made at the worst possible time. 2 losses inside 3 days. A seeding at the biggest tournament in the world that suddenly looked like it might turn into an embarrassment instead of a milestone. She didn't respond with a statement. No lengthy post explaining the changes, no defensive press conference walking back the criticism. She just flew to London. And here's what almost nobody watching that first-round draw expected. She walked out onto court 12 as a seeded Grand Slam player for the first time in her career, carrying 2 straight losses and a fresh set of doubters, and she let her racket give the only answer that mattered. 6-1. 6-2. 7 days. That's the entire distance between a first-round loss in Germany and rewriting Philippine tennis history in London. 7 days between analysts calling her decisions a gamble and Wimbledon's own account calling her something else entirely. Wimbledon's official Instagram posted the highlights that same day. And in the caption, they didn't just congratulate her. They called her a national hero of the Philippines. That didn't come from a Filipino broadcaster with a reason to be generous. It didn't come from a fan account. It came from the tournament that has spent nearly 150 years writing about Federer, about Serena Williams, about Djokovic, choosing those exact words for a 21-year-old having her breakout moment on a midweek outside court. To understand why that caption landed the way it did, you have to understand what it's replacing. For decades, Philippine sporting identity has lived almost entirely in boxing rings and basketball courts. Manny Pacquiao's fists, PBA rivalries, the sports a nation of more than 115 million people has always turned to for its heroes. Tennis was never part of that story. There was no tradition to lean on, No blueprint for what a Filipino Grand Slam breakthrough was even supposed to look like. Alex Eala isn't just adding her name to a list. She's writing the first page of a list that didn't exist before her. That caption is the moment everything changed. Within hours, a completely different story started circulating through Filipino social media. One that had nothing to do with a scoreline, and everything to do with a family, a promise, and a penthouse with a view of Manila Bay that nobody outside that family has ever confirmed exists. Here's the claim, as it circulated, that Alex had quietly used her own prize money to buy her parents a penthouse overlooking Manila Bay. A private gift. A thank you for a father who gave up a pool he never got to keep chasing, and a mother who carried a suitcase across time zones for a decade without ever asking for recognition. Posts described Mike Eala as overcome with emotion when he supposedly received the keys. It's a beautiful story. Here's the one honest thing that has to be said about it: nobody has confirmed it. Not Alex. Not her family. Not one credible Philippine news organization. As of now, it lives exactly where these stories always start, in comment sections and shared posts, not on the record. So why did an entire country want so badly to believe it? Maybe because the math finally makes it possible. Alex Eala has earned $871,438 in prize money this season alone, according to the WTA's official rankings, a number that would have sounded impossible 3 years ago, when she was still fighting for wildcards just to get into main draws. Possible isn't the same as true. But the fans spreading this story already understand that distinction. What they're really reacting to isn't a penthouse. It's a feeling that a family who gave up everything with zero guarantees might have finally reached the part of the story where it gets paid back. It helps that this wasn't a story built overnight by casual fans jumping on a viral trend. The same people sharing it now are largely the ones who were following Alex through the quieter years, through junior tournaments most of the country never watched, through a ranking in the 50s that most casual sports fans wouldn't have noticed at all. They believed in her when that optimism looked premature, even biased, long before Wimbledon's caption gave it official permission to be real. That's part of why the rumor spread the way it did. It wasn't strangers inventing a story about a stranger. It was a community finally getting to say "we told you so" about someone they'd never stopped watching. Manny Pacquiao built his mother a mansion in General Santos, and it stopped being a private gesture the moment the whole country claimed it as their own. Proof that a boy from a poor province could carry a nation's pride on his back and still remember where he came from. Serena Williams did something similar for her parents once her success caught up to their sacrifice. So did Coco Gauff for her family in 2023, barely out of her teens. Whether or not the penthouse is real, Filipino fans have already decided where Alex belongs in that lineage. Not just a rising athlete anymore, but a name on a very short, very meaningful list. One more detail makes the rumor almost impossible to shake loose. Back in January, at the ASB Classic, a WTA camera caught Alex saying something that had nothing to do with real estate at all: home is not a place, it's the people. Beat. Let that sit for a second. She wasn't talking about a gift when she said it. She was talking about her family, the people who moved cities and gave up careers so she could chase a tennis ball around the world. But months later, a viral story about giving back to exactly those people turned that one sentence into something else entirely. The emotional center of a claim she has never confirmed, and, just as tellingly, never denied. So here's the real question nobody's actually asking. Forget the penthouse for a second. Has this family, after everything they gave up for this long, with no promises attached from the very beginning, finally reached the point in the story where the sacrifice starts paying itself back? What's certain doesn't need a rumor to be true. A father who put his own career down at 13 years' notice and never picked it back up. A mother summed up in 5 careful words that undersell an entire decade of devotion. A ranking of 56 that, 7 days before Wimbledon, looked like a career quietly stalling out. And on court 12, one answer to all of it: 6-1, 6-2. And the attention isn't going to shrink from here, it's going to grow. If Alex keeps winning in London, the cameras that showed up for one match today will multiply. Reporters who've never set foot in Rizal Memorial Sports Complex will start booking flights to Manila, chasing the family behind the athlete, the sacrifices nobody televised, maybe even the penthouse itself, trying to find out whether it's a private family moment or simply a story that grew too big for anyone to quietly confirm or deny. The story isn't finished. Somewhere in London, thousands of Filipino fans are already refreshing the draw for one name: Maya Joint, exactly the kind of opponent who could turn a breakthrough into a footnote if Alex isn't ready. Win that, and she's 1 round from a WTA Top 20 breakthrough no Filipina has ever touched. Lose it, and this whole week becomes a beautiful exception instead of the beginning of something bigger. And even past London, the calendar keeps moving. Cincinnati, the US Open Series, the North American hardcourt swing where, a year ago, she was still just learning how to introduce herself to the tour. That's the match and the season that decides which story this actually is. For now, there's a scoreline nobody outside that family fully expected, and a father who came to London expecting to support his daughter, and left having watched her answer every doubt in under an hour. Whatever turns out to be true about a penthouse in Manila, one thing already doesn't need verifying: this country was home for Alex Eala long before Wimbledon caught up to her. If you want to be there when Maya Joint walks onto that court, subscribe now. Because the real test hasn't even started yet.